How do? My name's Anna. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I love to do videos about makeup and hair and decorating oneself. And I also love to compare eyeshadow palettes. So today I am comparing the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette and the Natasha Denona Mini Dream palette. And let's see if we can tell the difference. Okay, so I have swatched the Mini My Dream palette on my arm. I think it's actually this orientation, but I took notes. I actually figured out what shades kind of matched the best the other day from the I Need a Nude palette. And the first shade right here seems to be the most similar to this right here, which is called Travertine. So I'm gonna swatch that right next to that and see what we think. It's pretty close. Wow. All right. And then the next is Mesh right here, comparing to this, which I cannot read. Again, it's pretty close. A little bit cooler. There's like a little bit more I don't want to say pink, but it does seem a little bit more pink than orange, so I guess more blue than red in it. Now, going into Whisper, which is the other shimmery, or comparing to the other shimmery shade in the My Dream Mini. And again, I think that's pretty close. This one again is a little bit more pink. Just slightly more pink. Next shade, and that's being compared to this one, is Silhouette in the I Need a Nude. And I did build that up so that we could really see the color when I did the first swatch. So I'm going to do that here as well to compare them. And again, it's pretty close, maybe slightly cooler. I feel like these are just very slightly on the warm side of neutral, and these are very slightly more neutral, I guess. And then the last one, I'm comparing to this shade, and my thoughts on what was equivalent is Tender. And I believe this one was definitely cooler, more like mauve in that. Oh yeah, definitely. So I also want to look at Stone and Vogue, just to compare and see what we're working with today. Oh, Stone is much lighter. Okay. And that is definitely like more pink. All right, so that is the one shade that I couldn't find as good of a match for. I'm just gonna build that up slightly with mesh and see if I can sort of make it. No, that is really different. Okay, interesting. All right. I mean, almost this one matches there, so that's where I'm gonna run into some challenges, which is kind of exciting. So all right, I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit and we'll get started with the look. All right, so I'm going to be using different brushes on each side so as not to intermingle the shades. But I'm going to start actually with the deepest shades. So this one, and I will look at these shade names for you. That one is called Loyalty. No, is it Loyalty? I believe that's called Loyalty. Using a Blend Bunny B1. I'm going to do the mini palette on my right eye. Not for any particular reason. All right, so just throwing some pigment on there to start out with. And then on the other side, I have this Morphe brush, kind of the same size. Going into Silhouette. This brush might not be quite as dense, so wish me luck. On first thought, it doesn't seem as deep of a shade. But that could also be the brush. So I think I'm going to switch it up and do a little bit denser brush. So there's where we're starting from. And I like it already. I really love both of these palettes, so kind of can't go wrong. All right, so keeping those brushes where they need to be, I'm going to take a small but fluffier brush, and I'm going to go into this shade and kind of hope for the best as far as the trying to make the other palette match. And this is called Nurture. All right, so this is the right eye with the mini palette. And the kind of smaller fluffy brush. And I'm just gonna attach that in the center. In my crease, kind of high up in my crease because of my eye shape. And then also bring that out around that deeper shade. Well, that was easy. My goodness. Have I mentioned I love these palettes? All right, and so now going into the bigger palette, I want to, let's see, I'm going to mix these two shades. So that was Vogue and Tender right here. Wish me luck. It's actually the same brush, but a different, it's same type of brush, just a different brush. So I'm gonna do heavy on the Tender, just like a little dab of Vogue, and I hope this goes well. It's so pretty. I'm just gonna touch that up over here a little bit. Just want to bring it a little bit higher so you can actually see it. Gonna do the same on the other side. It's definitely turning out a little deeper. And I'm gonna try to warm it up with a little bit more of Vogue. Okay, interesting. Yeah, that is definitely cooler. All right, now I'm going to take a slightly larger fluffy brush. This is a rougher 14, that was a rougher 13. I do believe I have 2 of those as well, I do. All right, so going into Balance, this really light shade. I'm gonna bring that all the way in here and then out on the edges here. And then on this side, that is Mesh that I'm going to use. Is that right? No, I don't think that's right. Yep, that's right, Mesh. All right, so going into Mesh on the left side. And just gonna blend that all across the outer edges to soften things up a bit and blend them in. This side is definitely deeper. Is that my eye shape or is that the eyeshadow? My eyes are very different. All right, so what I want to do is I want to try to deepen that up, and that's the right eye, so we're going to use the shade again with that slightly smaller, rougher 13. It's definitely warmer than the other side. That is interesting. All right, now let's go into our shimmers, and I think I'm going to use the deeper one on my lower lash line with the small palette. Going into Devotion. Okay, and then using Travertine on the other side with the I Need a Nude palette. I think that's just kind of a nice shade. I like it. Okay, and then I'm going to use this shade called Passionate on the right side with my pinky in the center of my lid on the top. And I just noticed I missed some I missed some of that deep shade in there. Sometimes my hooded eyes are a little fussy with things. So we're just gonna fill that in a little bit. This shade again. And sort of blend that into that shade. I might need a brush to do that. I'm gonna take this fluffy brush. Try to blend that into the sides. All right. It's not quite as beaming as I would like it to be. It's very, very subtle, but it's pretty. Okay, and then in here, I'm actually just gonna do this ahead of time and go back into Silhouette a little bit and fill in. Oh, it's not as bad on this side. Okay. And keeping those brushes separate, going into Whisper on this side. I think these are very similar formulas of shadows. I don't know if the satin's the right word. It's a little bit more than a satin as far as like the sheen on it. All right, and then I'm going to use these brushes that I used before. I'm not going to add more product, but I'm just going to sort of feather this out a little on each side. Okay. And I actually think out of all the comparisons I've done, this almost seems like maybe the least similar, although I'm going to put some eyeliner on and mascara and see how it looks after that. Okay, so here's the final look. I added a little bit more of each of the deep shades to my inner corner, and I added a little bit more in the bottom from this palette. This. Honestly, I think they look pretty similar. Really close up, I think this side looks a little bit warmer. And this is just a little bit more cool. Like this is more kind of brown, pink, and this is more like brown rust with a hint of orange. Not really though. I mean, it's pretty darn close. Which leads me to conclude, you know, if you have this palette, you probably don't need this unless you want a tiny palette to, like, if you carry eyeshadow in your purse to do touch-ups during the day or whatever. I don't. So honestly, I probably would be fine with just this. I guess I do sometimes like to travel with smaller palettes, although I say that and I almost always bring one of or two of my Natasha Denona midi palettes because it's fun. So yeah, I would say they're fairly similar. I think they are of the same family, and I know that this was more of a companion to the My Dream palette, so it's interesting because I just feel like it kind of goes better with the I Need a Nude. It's almost like it's the mini, I don't know. It's interesting. What do you think? This is a warmer palette, this one, compared to this one. Anyway, so much eyeshadow. Thanks for being here today. I hope that you enjoyed watching the comparison between the mini My Dream palette and the I Need a Nude palette. What do you think? Same? Not the same? I don't know. I like them both. I'm glad I have both, but if I had to choose one, I would definitely choose this one. So that's that. I hope you have a good week, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side alive. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way if we keep on the sunny side alive.